Hello from Japan, from Tokyo. My name is Gilad Cohen. I'm the Israeli ambassador. I'm grateful and I thank everybody here around this webinar for participating, talking about the economic resilience. I want to thank the Japanese and Israeli speakers and all the attendees. I'm just coming back from the Japanese parliament where I addressed the Japanese the Diet Foreign Affairs Committee. And as you might have heard, there was also a vehicle attack against the embassy today. And one of our police officers was wounded, Japanese police officers, and at the outset, I would like to thank the Japanese government and Japanese police for securing myself, my diplomats, and of course the premises of the embassy. This vehicle ramming is under investigation of the police, so I wouldn't want to comment on it if it's a terror or not, but we'll have to wait and see. And I believe that in the coming hours, we'll know more. 7th of October is one of the darkest days of the Jewish and, of course, the Israeli history. Never have been so many Israelis killed in such a brutal way, in a way that is unimaginable, that I think human history have never seen. This is attack against humanity, not only war crimes, but crimes against humanity that were imposed on my people, and not only Israelis but others. And we are now fighting back. We have a war that we have to fight, but we are going to end it by having Hamas eliminated from its power in Gaza and not having imposed terror against us anymore. Personally, I was married in Kibbutz Nahal Oz, and my wife was born there. She's we say a daughter of this kibbutz, and my kids were used to play there. We have so many people that we know that were kidnapped and slaughtered, and this trauma is continuing, but we are going to overcome it. I can tell you on a personal note, my two sons now are in Gaza as combat soldiers for reserve. And we hope and we pray for all our soldiers to come back safely from Gaza. I also would like to say to you that we are appreciative of the call, of the stand of Japanese government alongside with Israel, the solidarity that is presented by the government of Japan. Minister Kamikawa, Minister of Foreign Affairs, coming to Israel, sitting and meeting the families of the kidnapped citizens of Israel, condemning the terror of Hamas in the strongest words, calling for immediate and unconditional release of our kidnapped citizens, and saying out there loud and clear that Israel has the right to defend itself in order for these atrocities of October 7th not to repeat itself. I think this stand of the Japanese government is the right stand, the stand in the right side of history, and we are very much appreciative of these calls coming out from Tokyo. And if I may say also, then to thank the Japanese embassy in Israel for standing by Israel. I was very moved to read the article by Ambassador Mizushima, my dear friend Koichi, supporting Israel and standing by us. We are now, it's a fight of civilizations. It's the struggle of civilization between the good and the bad, the right and the wrong. And we stand with Japan, and Japan stand with us, with the G7, with the other friends of the international community. And you can see who is on the other side. Hamas is being backed by Iran. Has its connection with Hezbollah. Hezbollah is firing from the north. We have the Houthis in Yemen. And you have also military supply coming from North Korea. You have political political backing of Russia and China at the Security Council. So we are facing this kind of an unholy, let's say, axis that we are having to confront. But we are fighting for our life. We are fighting for our freedom. We are fighting for the right cause. And we are fighting that this kind of atrocities will never happen, not in Israel and never in the world. Because if we lose now to Hamas, if we stop now, because before we achieve the goals of this war, it means that they won. And it means that Al-Qaeda and ISIS, who is exactly the same like Hamas, and other terrorist organizations can prevail and can do it not only in Israel, but also in Europe, in the United States and other places, and maybe even in Japan. And we will have to fight again and to stand together, shoulder to shoulder, to combat this war that was imposed on us. Now, I would like to take this opportunity to talk about what's happening in Israel. I just came to Israel for just a few days with Minister Kamikawa, and we are in war, and we are in a mood that is kind of, we have to save ourselves and protect ourselves. But I could have seen in Tel Aviv, in other places, when I went in Herzliya and other places, that the economy is working, the economy is there, the high tech is there, the technology is there. The people are there. Yes, some of them go to fight in Gaza. Some of them have to protect us. Some of them have to go to, instead of going to universities and to go to their companies, to go and to fight for us. But this is the time that we have to defend ourselves. But it doesn't mean that we are neglecting or we think that it's only this cause of war now that we have to concentrate. Yes, this is the main thing for us to do because we have to survive. But we think about the day after. We think about how we can reignite the good relations we have with Japan, the excellent level of investment, bilateral investment. And before the war, we were talking about so many things like advancing a free trade agreement, like Expo 2025, like direct flights to increase them next March, like the implementation of working holiday visa for Japanese youngsters and Israeli youngsters to come both sides. I will not talk about it today because of the circumstances, but I assure you that we are going to talk about it and we are going to advance this, double the efforts that we made before in order to put the relations back in the way where they have to be. Because you can see now that we are on the same side. We are on the side of the good, peace-loving world. And I represent Israel that is contributing to the world with its science, with its technology, with its high-tech, with its power, soft power. And I think that advanced solutions that Israel companies have to offer, they are not forgotten, and they are still there, and they are still high-techies, and they are still entrepreneurs, and there are still startups in Israel that are working around the clock. And because Israel has to survive not only militarily but also economically wise, and we are going to do it. So my task is, and the part of the Israeli mission, the trade mission here in Tokyo, is to think about for the day after the resilience of the Israeli economy, which is strong and will be strong. And I think that the ideals that we have in Israel are continuing to flourish, and we are going to make things even better. I think also that I've been asked about questions about what's going to happen in the future, and I'm not going to go into the fight for Israel. I'm doing it. It's not this session is not for. We call it hasbara for explaining you about why Israel is the right side and of course the Hamas is the wrong side. I think you know about this by now. It's a democratic state and this is a vicious terrorist organization equal to ISIS. I think that what is important now is to talk about the future, and I think that after the war is over, we are going to re-engage with the Arab world. I think that I have ground to believe that that our relations with Saudi Arabia, the peace agreements that we were talking with the Americans and the Saudis before this war, are going to be on the table again. I don't see any kind of backing from this commitment. I don't see any backing of the Abraham Accords. Countries like Emirates, Bahrain, Morocco, and others from this peace, of course, not Egypt and Jordan. So I think that we are going to see even more robust efforts in order for have peace, because I think peace with Saudi Arabia and expanding the accords will be good to the future. And I think that this is something that we should work on. I am confident that there will be that we will continue to do it, and I'm sure that the ground for very good relations, economic relations between Japan and Israel, between the companies, between the private sector and the governments of Japan and Israel, is going to be boosted after the war, and not only after the war, even now. I think we should talk about the things together, because solutions are there, and we are going to make them happen. And this is my task, this is our task, and I want to thank you very much for having me. ありがとうございます。תודה רבה.
大使、ありがとうございました。続きまして、在イスラエル日本国大使館より、公使経済部代表、高橋誠一郎様よりご挨拶いただきます。高橋様、よろしくお願いいたします。
はい、皆さん聞こえますか？ Good morning, Tokyo. Good morning, Ambassador. Do you hear me, right? Okay. Good morning, everyone. Although I got a bit surprised and concerned to hear about the car attack incident against the embassy. I would like to extend my sincere wish that everything should go okay with everyone who are concerned with that. And Boker Tov to my friends and colleagues in Israel. Thank you very much for inviting us to this special webinar. And of course, our special thanks go to the Embassy of Israel in Japan and IJCC for taking initiative and effort to organize this important event, as well as the distinguished guest speakers for attending this webinar in such a difficult time for the people of Israel and friends of Israel all over the world. We, the Embassy of Japan in Israel, are participating in this event today to show our solidarity with Israel. And our hearts and souls are always with the people of Israel. And this was exactly the message by our Foreign Minister Kamikawa during her visit to Israel on November 3rd, directly expressed to Mr. Herzog, President of the State of Israel, Foreign Minister Mr. Cohen, and also to the families of victims and the hostages of the terrorists of Hamas, whom the minister met in person and gave a heartfelt hug. Among them is actually Tami-san, who is obviously one of our oldest friends, and present here with us as one of the guest speakers at the panel session later on, which is obviously the most moving and encouraging part in this event for me, to see how strong and resilient she is. She keeps standing up not only as a mother of victimized family, but also as a never falling bridge between Israel and Japan. Today, the Embassy of Japan is participating in this event also to show our strong confidence in the resilience of Israeli startups and its economy, and of course, our bilateral business relations, as the title of this webinar communicates. I'm personally strong believer that we are both the people with the power of resilience. Japan had a history of miraculous recovery and development of its economy from the total ashes after our own war 78 years ago. And we have no doubt that Israeli technological prowess remains robust and unassailable in this most difficult time. We never give up and surrender to any possible challenge ahead. Instead, we will get over it and move on over. With that optimistic tone, I conclude my short opening remarks. Looking forward to seeing even much stronger, really, Israeli innovative economy and even more powerful bilateral relations between Japan and Israel in the nearest future to come. トゥダラバ、どうもありがとうございます。Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Takahashi-san. Thank you, Ambassador Cohen. We will now proceed with our partners in this important webinar, Chairman, the Israel Japan Chamber of Commerce, Gilad Majerowicz. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Konnichiwa. My name is Gilad Majerowicz, and I'm the chairman of the Israel-Japan Chamber of Commerce. First, I would like to thank you all for registering to this event. I understand that more than 500 people from the business community in Japan have registered within a few days to this webinar. And for me, this is a clear sign that the level of interest in Japan in collaborations with Israeli companies continues despite of the current situation. This webinar was initiated in response to many inquiries that we received from colleagues and friends in Japan. Questions such as if we go to work, if we can work, and of course, if we are safe. So as you can see, I'm sitting in my office in Tel Aviv. You can see the background behind me, together with hundreds of employees at my firm. Most of them are working in the office on a daily basis. Some employees, for personal reasons, work remotely a few days a week, mostly those who have little kids in school. And about 15% of the labor force at the firm are employees who are called on duty and are serving now in the army. This represents generally the situation in other workplaces in Israel, including startups. There are some places in which there are less employees who are called on duty, and in some cases a bit more. It is important to clarify that unlike places like Ukraine, Israel itself is not a war zone, and it's not a battlefield. In the center of the country, in business areas such as Tel Aviv, life goes on and everything is open, including restaurants and coffee shop. It is not crowded, but it is open. Also, traffic jam returned. It took me almost an hour to get to work today, while 2 weeks ago, it took me maybe 12 minutes. The market is functioning and the wheels of the economy are rolling again. Now, almost everyone in Israel was affected, one way or another, by the October 7th terror attacks and the current security conflict. There is also a big concern about the fate of 240 Israelis who were kidnapped into Gaza, among them little children, women, and elderly people. So from a personal perspective, the atmosphere is not cheerful, as you can imagine. However, when it comes to business, the atmosphere is different. Those who are serving now in the army, those who are not serving now in the army, feel that they need to serve the country by supporting each other and by continuing to maintain as normal life as possible, despite of the situation. Many companies are also reporting a sense of unity and solidarity among employees more than ever, and willingness to work harder to cover for those colleagues who are called on duty. In the high-tech world, mid-size and growth-level startups were less affected by the current crisis. The reason is that Israeli startups are usually looking for global business
and in many cases, they sell mostly outside of Israel. In addition, and especially after the Corona crisis, work can be done remotely or in a hybrid basis, office and home. And IT infrastructure of many or maybe all technology companies, including their data, is sitting anyway on the cloud. Now, interestingly, the number of investment deals has grown significantly in the past 2 weeks compared to the first 2 weeks after October 7th. A few deals have already closed, and there is an impressive number of new high-tech transactions which are now being negotiated. Our high-tech teams here in the office are super busy these days, and this is really remarkable. Some of these transactions are strategic, and some are financial. Other than local investors, we see a growing involvement of investors from the US and Europe who are showing their confidence in the market in Israel and continue to invest and to do business with Israeli companies. To give you some data, only last week, the media reported that 2 Israeli cyber companies were acquired for $400 million and $600 million. And there was some reporting about a significant M&A deal where the Israeli target is valued by more than $1.2 billion. So all of that is happening because Israelis are resilient and are functioning very well in times of crisis, unfortunately. The state of Israel emerged 75 years ago from the huge crisis of the Holocaust, and since then suffered several wars, security conflicts, and terror problems. Nevertheless, the Israeli nation was able to build a remarkable country within a very short time and to become a global leader in science and innovation. This happened mostly because of the attitude in Israel and characteristics of the people. Israelis never give up. We think creatively, we focus on problem solving, we work in teams, and we are task-oriented. The approach is that we deliver no matter what. The business with Japan also continues, and I'm sure it will continue to grow. Some projects were put on hold soon after October 7th, but others continue despite of the situation. In Corona times, the volume of business between Israel and Japan has reached its top level. It was not possible to make visits during that time. However, with the support of platforms such as Zoom and Teams, we were able to bridge the distances. And in fact, that saved time and work was done more efficiently. The same is true now. Mutual collaboration can continue remotely, like in Corona times. And hopefully, soon we could return to the normal course of work. About the IJCC. So the Israel-Japan Chamber of Commerce continues to be active, and we now put our focus on business continuity between Japan and Israel. We're holding this event in collaboration with the Embassy of Japan in Israel, Embassy of Israel in Japan, and the Japan-Israel Business Forum. And this is an opportunity to thank them for the great collaboration. Next week, the IJCC will be launching a special mentoring program for Israeli startups who are doing business with Japan, and we have more plans for the next few weeks. I invite each and every one of you to reach out to us with any question you have from your side in Japan, and we will be happy to assist. Thank you. Domo arigato gozaimasu.
Thank you very much, Gilad, for these important words. Next, I'd like to invite Dr. Einat Magal, the acting chairman of Israel Innovation Authority and the acting chief scientist of innovation at the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Technology, to talk about economic resilience in times of war, an overview of the current state of Israeli economy, and the measures taken to ensure business continuity.
対策の概観について話していただきます。ではどうぞ。ありがとうございます。では、これからプレゼンテーションを開始していきたいと思います。
Good afternoon to you. I'm Dr. Einat Magal. I'm the acting head of Israel Innovation Authority. The Israel Innovation Authority is a governmental body that is oriented in order to make collaborations with the private sector in order to promote R&D activities and to leverage the economy of Israel. And we are here to talk about the resilience of Israeli high tech. Well, we talked a lot about recent events in Israel and the concern that is raised among foreign investors, partners, and customers of Israeli technology companies. And I'm quite sure that, as mentioned before, you ask yourself whether the Israeli economy can weather the storm, or is it still attractive to collaborate, to do business in Israel? Well, currently we don't know how long the current war will last and what its full consequences will be for the economy and, of course, to the country. I wish I had a crystal ball to tell you.
見通せばいいなとはもちろん思いますが、このスライドの中で光を当てたいものとしては、過去20年間の重要な戦闘事件から得た経験をもとに、どのように乗り切ってきたか話したいと思います。イスラエルの経済は、この良好な財政状況で参戦しました。
That is well below the OECD average and able to absorb an economic shock without affecting overall financial stability. As you can see here, the GDP in the last 20 years raised significantly. Actually, it triples itself in 20 years. At the same time, we had quite few conflicts or wars. Two of them, the Second Lebanon War in 2006 and Operation of Protective Edge in 2014 were quite large in scale. They were longer, and the army called for significant number of reserve soldiers. Yet, if we look at the quarterly GDP growth in these years, we can see that the impact of the war was very short in time, and recoveries were very fast. A review of four significant security events in the last 20 years shows a moderate few months of effect on export, later returning to the basic trend line. And it happens because a large portion, around 50% of the export from Israel is driven by Israel's tech sector. That proves to be less affected by war. Israel's shekel suffered from slight depreciation before, and then reversing to pre-October 7th values lastly. And foreign investment has been massive and in a consistent increase over the last 20 years. Post-conflicts recoveries are rapid, and global financial crisis has much larger impact overall, as you can see here in the yellow figure. Now let's talk about the Israeli high-tech. So the high-tech is the cornerstone of Israel economy, with massive investment in R&D, in research and development, 6.1% of the GDP. It is exceptional high values. Only Korea has quite similar, but less investment, and all the rest of the countries have less than 4%. The high-tech is one of the major employees of Israeli workers, around 12%. And the sector is responsible for 18% of the GDP and pays 30% of income tax. And as mentioned before, the high-tech is responsible for 50% of the export. And actually, most of the export is non-tangible product, what we call the tech services, software, and so on. And this is the reason why we are less sensitive for the war in Israel. We're very, very proud to say that the tech hub in Israel is third in the world in the sense of number of high-tech companies. When I talk about tech hub, I talk about companies, I talk about entrepreneurs and also investors. And you have to remember that Israel is a really small country, and having so many companies is exceptional. We also have quite a nice number of active investors, around 500 financial investors, but we also have around 400 multinational companies. Some of them has both companies and employs hundreds of workers in Israel. And some of them just have a small office of 3 to 5 people, look for strategic investments. We are the innovation authority, and our mission is strengthening the competitiveness of the Israeli innovation hub, and we do it in 3 different ways. First of all, we have a budget for investment directly in the startups. And I'll talk a little bit later about the policy of investment. Secondly, we look forward for emerging technologies, what we call the next waves of technology, and we want to make sure that we have the right applied research, labs, talents, and so on. And it is a thematic programs such as investment in quantum, in artificial intelligence, and of course, climate tech and health. The third thing that we do is we try to help the companies in removing barriers and making sure that we will adapt at the end the technology, and we do so with working with regulators in Israel, but also around the world, and making sure that the taxation policy will be the one that will attract investment from abroad, and so on. We have supporting programs for all sectors and all stages of building tech companies, starting from ideas that come from the university. So we have programs for tech transfers. We support innovation infrastructure, either database, special database, or service labs. And we have programs to support entrepreneurs in their early days. For instance, in case you have a good idea and you are a doctor in the hospital or work in other place, and you want to check the water before you jump into the pool, so you have the opportunity to receive very small amount of money. You don't have to open your own company, and then you can decide if you want to continue on, and so on. We have a program for supporting startup companies in their early stages, and also some programs for large companies and for manufacturing companies. So the principle of the investment policy, first of all, we are enabler to the market. We don't lead it. We don't take equities from the companies. We judge the proposals, the applicants solely based on their technological excellence, and we want to see huge business potential. We work closely with the private sector, and what we see ourselves as a body that helps to decrease the risk for the investors and try to convey them to take risk. And the idea is that we invest together. We never invest by ourselves. And the way that we invest is that we give conditional loan, meaning that in case the project is successful, then the company has to repay us back based on their royalties very slowly, in slow pace over a long time. But in case the project is not successful, then the loan is forgiven. So what about the war? Well, we asked the companies, and as said before, one of the programs is, of course, the recruitment of soldiers. So what we did is that we had very prompt, very fast survey that we published for 24 hours. We received around 1,000 answers from tech companies. And as stated before, they claimed that around 15% of the workforce were reserve recruited. Some of them has major positions in the companies, of course, because some of them are commanders in the army and so on, and so they're also leaders in their companies. Also, they claim that they face difficulties in raising rounds of capital from their existing investors during the fighting, which is totally reasonable. And therefore, the government has been decided to initiate a bridging fund for 3 months only, and the idea is to invest around $100 million in a fast track, meaning that the companies will receive an answer within a month and will receive their payment in 5 weeks, 4 to 5 weeks, in case they win. And the idea is to extend the Israeli startup runways, meaning that we target the companies that needs additional cash to survive the conflict period and extend their runway from a few months to a year. By adding the matching from the private sector, the overall investment will be around $250 million. And we already know, and I'm really happy to say that several new venture capitals already raised a significant capital. Most of the capital that enters Israel is from the global industry. So we focused on high-tech companies that are in the product development phase or beginning of sales, meaning that they have already significant technological assets, and their idea is to make sure that we won't lose the potential that the companies has because of the war. As stated before, we started in November 1st, and the first companies in the beginning of December will receive their first prepayments. We believe that 3 months will be enough, and we do hope that in this time, Israel in our region will go back to peaceful again, and we will say that business is in as usual. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Einat Magal. It's a pleasure to have the head of the Israel Innovation Authority with us at the entity that is promoting, fostering innovation in Israel. So far, we had the opening remarks and we had the keynote presentation. And from now on, I would like to invite one by one friends and colleagues, mostly Japanese, who will be speaking in Japanese as well, and to share their insight, their experiences, and working, actually practitioners of business, Israel, Japan. So I remind our viewers, and we are 380 people at the moment. So there's a lot of us here, and we really appreciate the time of each and every one of you. That this webinar is about economy, is about business, continuity, Japan-Israel's strong momentum that we've seen in the past decade, and that we believe will continue to grow. And our first guest that I'd like to invite is Madarame-san, Principal Fellow for Digitalization Group at Nippon Yusen Kaisha, NYK. Madarame-san, thank you very much for joining us today. If you could open your camera and microphone. NYK is one of the world's leading transportation companies, operating more than 800 major ocean vessels, as well as fleets of planes and trucks. We have special relations to say with NYK over the past years, not only in light of the collaboration of NYK with Israeli startups, also investment in Israeli venture capital firm, the DOC, and also NYK is actually responsible for a lot of the cargo shipments, not only from Japan, but from Asia into Israel and vice versa. We'll be happy to hear about that. When we talk about business continuity, how does it actually work in terms of the cargo? Because not everything is software. There are goods also moving from place to place. And we also remember NYK's important role during World War II, transporting thousands of Jews from Europe to safety to Japan, thanks to the visas issued by the Japanese diplomat Sugihara. So again, Madarame-san, thank you very much for being with us today. So I'd like to ask you if you could share with us your experience visiting Israel and working with Israelis in the past years, and based on the past 5-6 weeks, how do you think this war will impact your Israeli partners?
はい、ありがとうございます。日本郵船のマダラメでございます。今ご紹介いただきました通り、日本郵船、イスラエル。
Madarame-san, to interrupt you, I'll just remind our English non-Japanese speaking that there is a feature for interpretation in the bottom of your screen, and please select the English channel. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
はい。日本郵船はいろいろな形でイスラエルと関係を持っておりますが、まず私どもの社税というのを最初にご紹介します。これBringing Value to Life、人々の生活や、企業活動、経済活動を貨物を運ぶことで支えるというのが私どもの社税です。そして、ただいま私どものイスラエルとの間の海上輸送サービスというのは、現在も続いており、皆さんの生活を支えております。ちょうどすいません、画像が、鏡になっちゃってるんですが、これが今朝の状態の私どもの活動です。日本時間の朝、私どもの運航している船の
our cargo ship that's called the Hyperion Leader. Can you see this? I'm not sure if you can read this,
yes,
but
we can see. Thank you.
Yes. So the ship departed Gilad.
このように、私どもは今後とも寄港地や航路の安全が確保できる限り、海上輸送サービスを続けて
operation as long as safety of the navigation and ports are ensured so that we can support the people's living as well as business activities around the world. And we are using the tech service provided by an Israeli company, and some engineers are from the West Bank. They were Palestine, but all the services are going on without any glitch or failure. So the services provided from Israeli companies are supporting our business.
イスラエルのベンチャーキャピタルに出資しておりますが、こちらも粛々と 事業を続けています。で、私が
Israeli venture capital, and that venture capital operation is continuing operation, and investment committees meetings are carried out online, just like but there's no program, but we had plans for
キャピタルのジェネラルパートナーの皆さんは、さまざまなイスラエルの外のイベントに参加して、出資先のスタートアップ、必ずしもイスラエルの会社だけじゃなくてグローバルに投資活動をしているベンチャーですので、出資先のスタートアップや各地の投資家の皆さんに現況を報告されています。とはいえ、やはり現在は異常事態ですので、一日も早くイスラエルに平和が訪れて、また私たちが安心してイスラエルに出張できることを祈っております。以上が私どものコメントです。貨物もソフトウェアの活動も投資活動も問題なく続いています。ただベンチャーの皆さんのお子さんが今IDF に参加しているということですので、皆さん無事に平和に安全に戻ってきていただきたいと思います。以上です。
Thank you. Good. Madarame-san, thank you so much for sharing these warm words with us. We also hope that, of course, they will come back safely and quickly. And thanks again for your partnership. Next, I'd like to invite Mr. Kei Takagi. Takagi-san, Business Development Manager at NEC Israel Research Center. Thank you very much for joining today on behalf of NEC Israel Research Center. NEC is, I think, maybe needless to introduce, but in any case, is the leading IT service provider with nearly 120,000 employees, $25 billion annual revenues, operating in all continents with 284 subsidiaries. Takagi-san, could you tell us a bit about yourself, about your Israeli experience? I understand you are in Israel now, and about NEC Israel Research Center activities. If you could share your impressions from the Israeli society, since you've lived in Israel more than most Israeli and Japanese expats. And then, if you could also Nihongo de onegai shimasu, since most of our audience is Japanese. And I take the opportunity to remind everyone you can send questions through the Q&A box. Please write who you're addressing the question to. Thank you. Dozo, Takagi-san.
Thank you. Thank you, Daniel-san. Thank you for having us. 皆様、こんにちは。NEC の高木と申します。どうぞよろしくお願いします。先に簡単に自己紹介をさせていただきますと、私、母親がイスラエルのユダヤ人という背景もございまして、中学時代に留学っていう形で、日本からイスラエルに渡りました。で、以降もう30年以上経ちますが、今では第2の故郷として、こちらイスラエルの方で生活をしております。で、私もともとジェトロ、日本貿易振興機構によりまして、このイスラエルに関する調査、事業、こういったところに携わっておりました。で、現在私が所属している NEC のイスラエル研究センターですが、こちらですね、2016年の末にイスラエルに拠点を作りまして、ヘルツェリアっていうイスラエルの中部に位置をする都市にオフィスを設けております。研究メンバーはですね、今約30名おりまして、このうち本社からの日本人駐在員が1名、で残りのメンバーはトップマネジメントを含めてですね、全員こちらイスラエルの方で採用しております。で、私どもの役割というところですが、その NEC 全社でのですね、いわゆるそのインバウンドテックの活用の促進ということをやっておりまして、 つまりですね、そのイスラエル製の、先端技術、製品、これをですね、弊社の、ラインナップと連携させたりですね、あるいはその NEC として、今後、企画している開発中の製品、これに統合していくと、これをやることによってですね、より付加価値のついた、画期的なソリューションの開発、こういったものを、目指しております。あと、ダニエルさんからご質問いただいているそのイスラエル人ですね、イスラエル人の性格、というところですが、そうですね、本日のウェビナーのタイトルも、We Deliver No Matter What、ということですが、日本語で言うと、何でしょう、何があっても必ずやり遂げるという意味で、これって何でしょう、とてもこのイスラエル人、イスラエルのアントレプレーナーを象徴する言葉だなと、私、思っております。この戦争以前に。で、このイスラエル人の特徴としてですね、まずこの行動の速さ、このスピードっていうのがまずこれ挙げられると思うんですね。で、もちろんアントレプレーナーっていうのはもう常にその課題を見つけ出して、これの解決策を見つけようとしているわけなんですね。で、このイスラエルのアントレプレーナーっていうのは、その行動が速いっていうのが特徴ですと。で、もともと何でしょう、じっとしてられない性格っていうのもあるかもしれませんが、何よりもその新しいことを起こそうとしたときに、このミスを恐れないと。今までなかった技術、その01を起こすときに、やっぱりこの失敗っていうのは当然つきものですが、それを恐れないわけなんですね。で、ミスをしたらミスをしたで、素早くそれを修復して、その試行錯誤を繰り返しながら、よりブラッシュアップされた、この尖った技術っていうのを責任持って開発するというのが、このイスラエル人のアントレプレーナーの一つの大きな特徴かなというふうに思っております。ですので、問題があれば、すぐに素早く解決に動き出すっていうのが、これがイスラエル人の特徴の一つ。で、もう一つ、やっぱりこのイスラエルならではといいますか、特徴として挙げられるのが、さっきもありましたが、この軍隊の存在。で、イスラエルは、先ほどもありましたが、その兵役義務っていうのがございまして、この高校を卒業するとですね、このユダヤ人全員これ軍に行く義務があるんですね。で、兵役期間っていうのがこれ2年以上続くわけなんですが、この軍隊っていうそのある意味特殊な組織に長くいることでですね、皆さんその学校とか会社では絶対得られないノウハウ、スキルっていうのを身につけるわけなんです。で、もちろんハイテクで言えばもちろんその軍で開発されたその先端技術が後にこの民間転用されていくっていうケースが、ありますが、それとは別にやっぱりこの軍でしつけられるなんでしょう、臨機応変への対応。やっぱりこれもですね、民間企業、民間の成果でしっかり生かされているわけなんですね。なので、何かトラブルがあれば、すぐに対応できる体制。仕事で予期してなかった事態が発生しても、それを柔軟に、冷静に対応できるマインドセットっていうのは、やっぱりイスラエル人の多くは持っているのかなっていうことを実感しております。ですので、私も業務上、スタートアップですとか、その現地のベンダーとお会いすることがもう日課になっているわけなんですが、今のこの戦争の状況においてもですね、やっぱり電話をかければ必ず出てくれますし、コールバックもしてくれますし、メールなんかもタイムリーにやっぱり返信が返ってくるんですね。ですので、そのおかげで我々としてもですね、そのイスラエル企業と連携というところはもう支障なく続けられていますし、私自身もやっぱりこういったこの厳しい状況の中においてもですね、そのイスラエルベンダーを日本側に安心して紹介ができるというふうに確信をしております。はい。
Thank you. Thank you very much. Takagi-san, I think, yeah, I completely agree about the ability to, and we're used to the Israelis to improvise. If something doesn't work as planned, we change course. Even today, you may have noticed the webinar started 3 minutes late because a technical problem, ambassador's computer, and we quickly went upstairs to my room and changed the order a little bit. And we move on, we continue. Thank you, Takagi-san.
Exactly.
Please take care there in Israel. My next guest is Okada-san, president of ISCAR Japan. Thank you very much, Okada-san, for joining us on behalf of ISCA, one of the world's largest producers of metal cutting tools. And maybe many of you didn't know, but it's actually Israel's biggest exporter to Japan. ISCA was acquired by Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway, and its headquarters is located at Israel's northern border, very close to the border. Okada-san, are you here with us? If you could open your camera and microphone. Okada-san, could you tell us a bit about yourself, about your Israeli experience, and also how is it to operate a plant under such conditions? How do you overcome the challenges and deliver your products to your Japanese customers, no matter what? And we talk a little bit about tech and innovation and software, but yeah, your products are hardware. And how do you do it? And then once again, 日本語でお願いします。
はい、ありがとうございます。Thank you for having me. はじめまして、皆さん、イスカルジャパン株式会社の岡田と申します。当社のまずご紹介からさせていただきます。今ご紹介に預かりました通り、当社はですね、金属加工の業界に供給しております、生産消費財の一部であります切削工具という製品を製造販売サービスの提供しておりますメーカーでございます。当社の経営本部、それから製造メインのキャンパスはイスラエルの北部、レバノンとの国境からわずか10キロ圏内のところに位置しております。今、ここのバックにですね、当社のイスラエルの経営本部、我々の製品の主なところを製造しております製造キャンパスの空撮映像、静画でございます。後ろに見えますのが、背景に見えますのがこれが地中海です。写真の右の方にずっと行っていただくと、先ほど申し上げたレバノンとの国境がございます。製品のことに戻ります。切削工具、皆様あんまり聞いたことないということで、今も同時通訳の方は大変ご迷惑かけていると思うんですけども。
Tools before. So this is an essential tool for fabricating hardwares. Especially for Japan, we often produce high-value products such as automobiles, aircraft parts, and some for all types of metalwork. We develop a tool for the fabrication in northern Israel. In Japan, we've been selling our products since 1970 for Escal Japan. We were established in 1994. We will be having the 30th anniversary next year. So, as mentioned, we are 100% Israeli business, but this is also a company owned by Warren Buffett's Berkshire Holdings. So right now, a lot of people are paying attention to entrepreneurships and startups in Israel, but for our case, we're rather a a company with longer history. Some people may call it low tech, but as many of the Japanese clients are deeply involved in manufacturing, I believe you will also be interested in how Israeli people continue providing their business with the spirit of delivering no matter what. As I had mentioned earlier, most of our products are being manufactured in our campus here in northern Israel. Unfortunately, since October 7th, we've been in a difficult situation. It's not just in the southern parts, but as you may have seen in the news, there are some military organizations or terrorist activities from the Hezbollah where our plants are located. despite such difficulties or production activities and provision of our products worldwide, and the service has been continuing without any disruption since October 7th. The reason for that being possible is because of our smart factory setup being applied in Israel. We've been able to completely monitor the production remotely. So this is a fusion of the high-tech and low-tech, and also various data for the production and the data associated with production, and the schematics are also available on the cloud. These data and information can be accessed from anywhere in the world. This is a DCP for the manufacturing. Regards to the supply chain, we have the logistic hubs in the major industrial nations, US, Europe, Korea, Brazil, Australia, and Japan. If any of the country logistic hub is faced with disruption, the other hubs will be able to cover and continue. In regards to the sales activities, globally, we have 15,000 employees, and there are about 5,000 employees worldwide who's involved in the sales activities directly and indirectly, and this spans across 60 countries. Most of them are not located in Israel. They are all spread out throughout the major industrial nations. As you may have heard,
7日からのこの苦しい時期におきましても、製品自体をしっかりと
despite the difficult circumstances since October 7th, we have been able to deliver to our Israeli counterparts. We've been able to deliver our product and service to all the clients worldwide, including the ones in Japan. And this is due to the resilience of the Israeli business and industrial landscape, endurance and robustness, and also being able to recover swiftly from such difficulties. And this characteristic is not only unique to S-CAR Japan. This is common throughout Israel, no matter whether it's low-tech or high-tech. I believe this is almost like a manifesto for all people involved in the Israeli industry. Despite
イスラエルの特徴を皆様に我々自身が理解をし、今後それらを私どもここにおられる皆様の独自の成長に寄与する要素として捉えられる、採用されるかどうかというのが大変興味深い観点じゃないかなと思っております。一言で言うならば、イスラエル発のテクノロジーはすべてリスクの高い環境から生まれたものだということを知っていただきたいと思います。当社の製品さることながら、イスラエルには素晴らしいテクノロジーがございます。例を挙げますと、海水の淡水化、デサリエーション、それからアグリテック、それからサイバー技術。
For example, desalination, agri-tech, and so on. All these technologies are born out of high-risk environment. How we would expand these wonderful technologies globally would indeed contribute to the improvement and growth of the economy worldwide, and we're in a position to support that. Thank you.
Thank you.
And also, lastly, I'd like to appreciate my appreciation to the Ambassador Gilad Cohen and we'd like to pay a great respect and appreciation for the continued effort in improving the relationship between Japan and Israel. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Okada-san. Next, we have a very special guest, Ms. Tami Raviv, CEO of Global Cohen Business Development. Tami is very special to us, not only a friend with whom I had the opportunity to work with since I got here 3 years ago. Tami is not only the daughter of one of my predecessors, sat on this chair 2-3 decades ago, Mr. Levi Eldad, who passed away earlier this year. Tami is also a bereaved partner who lost her daughter, Niv, in a terror attack on October 7th. Tami met with Japanese Minister Kamikawa during her recent visit in Israel. Tami, I'd like to share my sincere condolences for your terrible loss on behalf of everyone here at the embassy, and I'm sure I can speak of on behalf of all the people who are here, the hundreds of people who are here with us right now. Words cannot describe the shock and the sadness of the terrible act of terror. And thank you so much for joining us today and in these difficult times and sharing your thoughts and feelings.
Thank you, Daniel, for the warm words. Hello, everyone. Konnichiwa. I decided to participate in this webinar today to share my personal tragedy and to put a face to the stories from Israel that are beyond imagination. My company has been doing business development between Israel and Japan for over 20 years. I was actually planned to fly to Japan on the evening of Saturday, October 7th. On that morning, I was awakened by a phone call from my daughter, Niv, who had been living with her spouse on a kibbutz on the borders of Gaza called Kfar Aza. Niv told me that she's hearing lots of shooting outside her home. She was in her shelter room under her bed. She was terrified and helpless. She yelled for help and I couldn't do anything. I knew from the news that thousands of Hamas terrorists had broken down the fence and entered Israel. Many videos of cruelty and horrors had already been uploaded to Arab Telegram channels. We could see unbearable, unimaginable cruelty. They filmed themselves abusing children and elderly, raping women, burning, slaughtering innocent civilians. And I knew my daughter was there and I couldn't communicate with her anymore. After a week of uncertainty and sleepless nights and unbearable fear, a week that there was fighting around her home, 4 people came to our door and notified us that the worst had happened. She was murdered with her boyfriend. Niv came to our home on Friday, October 6th evening. She came to say goodbye before my trip to Japan. She returned to the kibbutz on Friday late at night as she wanted to study for a big exam, for a master's degree, and needed peace and quiet at her home. Niv was a university student for psychology and criminology. She's my second out of 3 children. She's only 27 years old. She had many dreams, including to get married next year. She had amazing capabilities with a huge heart and always saw the other before herself. She wanted to treat people. She had her whole life ahead of her. The kibbutz where she lived maintained close connections with their neighbor Palestinians. They worked together and became friends with their families. They believed peace is a realistic dream. We now know that these Palestinians provided the internal information regarding the kibbutz. Maps, names, specific targets. For me, the easier and perhaps natural thing was to say that my life is over and I'm not able to move on. But I have 2 more children who I think deserve a full, beautiful, and happy life. The state of Israel and each one of us needs the economy to return to be strong, and I think there is no other choice. We must continue to cooperate and create business together. Japan is my love and country of expertise. I wish for our countries to continue to collaborate and make business together. I also want to share that I met the Japanese Minister of Foreign Affairs, Kamikawa-san, during her trip to Israel. It was my first time to meet her, and I was so moved by her. She hugged me tight and told me personally how sorry she was. After I shared my tragedy, and she heard 2 more stories from families of children who were kidnapped to Gaza, she told us that she could relate to our pain from a mother to mothers, and she will do her best to assist to bring all the kidnapped back home. We are also grateful that the Japanese government is supporting Israel during these times, not allowing terrorism to be justified in any way, even in a crazy world where people try to claim that everything is fake and none of this had ever happened. Thank you for listening to my personal story, my tragedy.
Thank you very much, Tami, for sharing with us. We're going to move on with the, thank you, Tami, with the Kosaka-san, CCLO Entity Innovation Laboratory. Thank you very much for joining us, Kosaka-san. On behalf of NTT, Japan's 3rd largest corporation, with about 1,000 subsidiaries, over 300,000 employees, including a very active team in Israel headed by my predecessor, Noah Asher. We're very grateful for the collaboration that we have with NTT. Kosaka-san, thanks for being here with us. Could you tell us a bit your experience living in Israel, a bit about the NTT Innovation Lab, and especially how do you guys manage to meet your goals considering the current environment?
Daniel さん、Thank you so much. どうもありがとうございます。皆様、こんにちは。NTT Innovation Laboratory イスラエルの小坂です。
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Kosaka with NTT Innovation Laboratory. I'd like to thank the organizer of this.
また、ご参加いただいている皆様方、誠にありがとうございます。NTT は総合 ICT 事業、移動通信、地域通信、グローバルソリューション事業を提供していますが、NTT の 100% グループ会社として、2021年7月に NTT イノベーションラボは創業いたしました。現在、社員数は8名になりまして、うち日本人社員は私1名という体制になっております。NTT イスラエルはイスラエルスタートアップエコシステムの最先端技術やソリューションをお客様、NTT グループに取り込んで新たなビジネスの創出を行う活動を推進しています。私自身は現地に赴任して2年弱活動を行っておりますけれども、10月11日に日本に帰国しております。現在、東京から継続して NTT イスラエルの業務を行っております。東京にいながら日々イスラエルのメンバーと協力して業務を行ってきた1ヶ月のこの経験について皆様にお話をさせていただきたいと思っております。NTT イノベーションラボイスラエルですね、弊社が一番心がけて業務に取り込んだのは事業継続というところを非常に気をつけて取り組んでまいりました。10月7日の事象があったために、できない、あるいは期日が遅れるということが言い訳にしないように、通常と同じように業務に取り組んで成果を出すことで、会社一丸で取り組んできております。最初の週の10月9日というのは、予備役で招集される方や、それから私自身も日本へ帰国するなど、当然慌ただしい日々を過ごしていましたけれども、翌週あたりからは、スタートアップ企業との打ち合わせなど、落ち着きを取り戻し始めています。弊社のみだけではなく、どのイスラエル企業も口を揃えてビジネスコンティニュイティ、ビジネスアズユージュアル、デリバリーオンタイムと、業務に取り組んできております。どの企業も困難な状況の中で競合の検討を推進することができたのは、こういった一丸となってサポートする体制があったからというふうに心強く思っておりますし、とても印象的でした。特にイスラエルで生活しているメンバー、あるいはスタートアップの皆様においては、 予備役としての収集という困難さがあったり、あるいは会社個人でのボランティア活動を日々行ったり、お子様ご家族のケアというところを行って影響が出ているところは、よく見えているんですけれども、それが実際のビジネスに見れないように業務を継続しております。社会全体で一丸となって支え合っているイスラエルエコシステムのおかげで、業務が遂行できているというのはとても感謝しております。オーディエンスの日本の方にメッセージなんですけれども、今回、日本人の持つ相手を配慮する優しさを多く感じることがありました。具体的に言いますと、きっと大変な時期だから迷惑になるんじゃないかと考えたり、今のちょっと連絡をするのは差し控えようといった思いやりから連絡を差し控えているようなケースも多くあったんじゃないでしょうか。イスラエルとビジネスをやっている方はご存知だと思いますけれども、直接的なコミュニケーションということがとても好まれます。もし躊躇されている方がいらっしゃいましたら、遠慮なくコンタクトを取って、元気とか大丈夫ですかっていうコンタクトを取るととても喜ばれると思います。また、オーディエンスのイスラエルの方におかれましては、もしかすると日本のカウンターパートから連絡がないので、寂しい思いをしている方がいらっしゃるかもしれません。日本の友人はイスラエルのことを考え、心を痛めています。
In Japan. And I think people in Israel could understand the way Japanese people show their kindness. And if you hesitate to bring up some business,
懸念されている方がいらっしゃるかもしれません。そういった方は非常に難しい時期でありますけれども、お気軽にご相談いただければ、イスラエル、日本両国にとってのビジネスがより発展するというふうに信じております。どうもありがとうございました。
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Kosaka-san, for these important insights. Next, I would like to call Akimoto-san, co-founder and managing director of AT Partners. Thank you very much, Aki-san, for being with us today. I believe the company that you co-founded is the only fund of funds that raises capital in Japan and invests in over 13 Israeli VCs. And this way have effectively financed hundreds of Israeli startups. You've also been a great support to us at the embassy, introducing the most senior executives in Japan, which we greatly appreciate. Kimoto-san, one of the main pillars reflecting the growing bilateral relations is the increase in the number and volume of investments by Japanese companies. Japanese companies are considered risk-averse. How do you see the current startup situation? And please share your opinion as to how Japanese companies should deal with this situation. Thank you.
Daniel, thank you for having me as one of the panelists today. And I offer my deepest condolences to Tammy's daughter and those who lost their lives. And I do hope that the hostages will be released as soon as possible. 皆さん、はじめまして、AT パートナーズの秋元と申します。ここからは日本語でお話しさせていただきます。ダニエルの質問に対してですね、3点ほどお話しさせてください。まず1点目は、イスラエルのスタートアップ状況全般について、簡単に共有させていただきます。今回の紛争によりですね、一定レベルの影響を受けていることは間違いありません。先ほどダニエルもちらっと説明してくれましたけれども、AT パートナーズの1号ファンドからですね、イスラエルのトップティア VC へのファンドオブファンド、12のベンチャーキャピタルが運営するファンドに出資しています。で、そのファンドのポートフォリオ数は200社を、超えております。で、ギラッド、あとイノベーションオーソリティのエイナットさんも紹介してましたが、平均するとですね、10% から 15% の程度のですね、社員が予備役として招集されています。で、 出資先 VC 経由ではありますけれども、ヒアリングをしている限りにおいてはですね、これも先ほどちらっとご紹介ありましたが、ターゲットとしているマーケットがイスラエル国外がメインであると、そんな背景もあってですね、売上やビジネス開発等への影響は出ていないというようなケースが圧倒的ですが、R&D であったり、技術開発であったりといった点においては若干の遅れが出ているというケースもございます。で、次に資金調達面ですが、10月末時点の速報値ということで、多少精度が微妙ではあるんですけれども、共有させていただくとですね、ここまでの今年2023年の累計資金調達額ですね。これはアメリカドルで 5.7 ビリオン。で、前年比から言うと 60% のマイナス。で、資金調達件数は187件。前年比で言うと 48% のマイナス。で、いずれもですね、昨年から半減しているわけですけれども、これは別に今回のこの事象によって減少しているわけでもなく、US、ヨーロッパ、こちらも全く同じ状況なんです。イスラエル固有の話ではなく、要は昨今の金利状況と世界的なですね、経済情勢によるスタートアップ投資の減速、そういう流れでしかありませんので、決してイスラエルに限った話ではないと。で、ちなみに11月5日週、5日から12日ですね、この1週間だけに限って見てみるとですね、このような状況下であっても、4社が資金調達を行っていて、その金額は、アメリカドルで91ミリオンの資金調達を実行しています。で、次にですね、エグジットの状況を見てみますと、先ほどギラッドも紹介してましたけれども、つい先日ですね、タロンサイバーセキュリティとディグセキュリティという、イスラエルのいずれもサイバーセキュリティ系のスタートアップですけれども、アメリカのパロアルトネットワークに買収されました。嬉しいことにいずれもですね、AT パートナーズ出資先 VC のポートフォリオなんですけれども、これからもお分かりいただけるように、このような状況下で多少の影響は受けているものの、ほぼ通常通りにエコシステムは回っていると、そういうふうに客観的に言えるんじゃないかなと思います。で、2点目として、イスラエルスタートアップのビジネスコンティニューティの現状。で、彼らがいかにレジリエントであるかについてお話しさせてください。先ほど述べました通り、一定割合の従業員が予備役としてですね、招集されているっていうのは、これは事実なわけですけれども、これらについては、業務の効率化であったり、海外を含む外部リソースの利活用であったり、出資者である VC の強力なサポート、そういった様々な手段を講じて、今現在対応している状況ですね。で、最も懸念されるのが資金調達、なわけですけれども、今回の紛争以前から、先ほどもちらっと申し上げましたけれども、世界的にスタートアップ投資に急ブレーキがかかっていたことから、出資者でもある VC の指導等もあってですね、比較的十分な運転資金を確保しているケースがかなりあります。で、もちろんこの期間中に資金が底をつくようなケースもありますけれども、こちらも先ほどイノベーションオーソリティのエイナットさんが紹介されていたようにですね、緊急の運転資金援助型の基金を立ち上げたりしており、国を挙げてこのスタートアップをサポートするという、この強さと速さをここでも発揮しているというふうに言えるんじゃないかなと思っています。で、3点目としてですね、冷静に投資家目線でこの状況をどう捉えているかについてですけれども、今年、来年、場合によっては2025年も該当するかもしれませんけれども、非常に重要な年になるんだろうなというふうに思っています。というのも、いわゆる、ちょっとツーリストインベスターなどと揶揄されていますけれども、昨年、一昨年ぐらいまではですね、ものすごい高いバリエーションでですね、ものすごい金額をボンボン投資していくような、そんな投資家が、数多くいたわけですけれども、その彼らの投資によってですね、企業価値なんかもものすごい高騰していたんですが、 結局そういう投資家が一気に退場したというような、環境が作られたことによってですね、企業価値がかなりリーズナブルになってきている。つまりこの業界にきちんと根を下ろした投資家に有利な環境が整いつつあるというのが1点。で、次に、これも若干乱暴な言い方ではあるんですけれども、ある程度のレベルであれば、誰もが資金調達できたような環境、状況っていうのはなくなってですね、本当に質のいいスタートアップに絞られつつあること、これらの観点からですね、この1、2年、ひょっとしたら2、3年になるかもしれませんけれども、投資家にとっては非常に重要な年になるんじゃないかなというふうに思っています。で、これ最後に個人的な考え方ではあるんですけれども、我々のイスラエルスタートアップに対する投資活動であったり、彼らとのオープンイノベーションの継続的な推進ですね。そういったものがイスラエルスタートアップをよりレジリエントなものにし、よりレジリエントになったイスラエルスタートアップが、また我々のオープンイノベーションを強力に支援してくれて、新たな価値、新たなサービス、新たな事業を世界に向けて生み出すことが加速される。そんな正の循環を生むことができるんじゃないかなというふうに個人的には信じております。以上です。
Thank you very much, Akimoto-san, for these important insights from the investor perspective. Next, I'd like to invite Ido Savir-san, CEO of SuperMeat. And I'd like to say we are running a bit late, and I apologize for that. We will continue. We still have more than 300 people with us, and just a little bit left. So please bear with us if your schedule allows. Ido, are you here with us?
I am.
Okay, good.
I have an issue with sorting the video. It's blocked, but I'm with you.
Okay, Sugar-san, if you can try to fix Ido's camera. So SuperMeat is a promising Israeli food tech company, and I asked Ido to join us here today. Even though he's not in Israel, he's on a business trip in Japan. And so you see Israeli companies continue to come here and have meetings and do business. Ido, thanks for being here with us. How is Japan treating you? What brought you here? Tell us a bit about how it's going for you.
Thank you, Daniel. Yes, I'm right now. I'm in Tokyo, enjoying it immensely. It's a beautiful, wonderful city. And as you mentioned, I'm here on a business trip as part of our ongoing work. This kind of reminds me. My mother passed away a few weeks ago, close to when the attack happened, and she used to always say that it doesn't matter what happened in family or at work or whatever. Come, let me fix you something to eat. So I think we deal with food and food tech, and this is a part of our life, and things have to go on, and we need to eat, and we need to feed ourselves, and we need to feed the economy. And I think that's a part of kind of the mind state of Israelis, that we understand that we need to continue living and working no matter what and in all conditions. And I think that's a part of what allows us and the work that we're doing to be so resilient. I think maybe it'll be interesting to share some of the kind of the perspective of a company in the space through some of the situations that came through the country. So in the first week of after October 7th, obviously everyone were kind of shocked, and we're trying to regroup to see how to move on in the situations. A few of the employees were recruited. About 10%, 5-10%. That's not that significant. But the main challenge was that almost half, or even more than half, of the women employees husbands were recruited, and there were no supporting environments, education environment that allowed them to send their children to school or to kindergarten, and that really created a void because no one could really come to work or only for limited times. Now we're dealing with cultivated meat, so we actually it's a sort of a convergence between a biotech company and a food tech company. So people need to work in the facility at work. So what we did, and in the second week we were already fully operational. We actually set up environment in Supermeat at the facility for people to bring their children. And not only that, many of the employees, more grown children, 16, 18 years old, who were also going crazy at home, helped. So what happened was that on the second week, we're already almost fully operational, and we were actually creating a community that made everyone feel so much more engaged and so much more attached and able to continue working even better to an extent because of the commitment that this created. So I think these are not ideal circumstances for anyone, but I think this is life is a sort of a startup. Things happen all the time. And I would share maybe another aspect that happened. So we are working to do our first commercial launch in the US market. The US is our first target market. And I'm happy to say that just a week ago, we signed a big deal in the US with one of the biggest food players to sell together the first commercial batch. And this is in the midst of everything that's happening. And it's just a testimony that we just continued in the midst of everything. And I think this is a part of how we work and how we live. We live in the midst of chaos, and we know how to be resilient in that. And I think that helps us as we continue and face so many other challenges that bound to happen in the startup life. And I think that Israel has shown in the past, and even in the past, I don't know, 5 years, with some of the conflicts that were, and also COVID, which we were, I think, one of the countries that were able to get out of COVID in the most positive way on the economic level. And I think this would allow us to do that as well. And and we're very fortunate. And I'll just add one perspective, which is important to me. So one of our most strategic partners is Ajinomoto. This is a significant part of the reason that I'm here today. Ajinomoto were introduced to us kindly by Daniel Kolbar and his team in the Israel Economic and Trade Mission Office. And they supported this process. And for us, and I think for Israeli companies, this is an incredible kind of union, because we know we're very creative. We know how to cut corners and create things very rapidly. We're in Japanese companies and have this incredible understanding and expertise in doing things methodically and on the highest industrial standards. And this is where this combination is magic, because you take this crazy creativity and technology and then take it to the highest quality and standards that can make this go global. And we are so fortunate to have the support of Ajinomoto, who has been working and helping to take the technology that we established to a whole different level of standard and quality. And as you can see, we're here and working and really feel privileged and thankful to Daniel and Ajinomoto and everyone here to continuing this support. And we're looking forward to continuing working together and tightening the relationship with Japan.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for joining us. I know your schedule is very busy. I know because we set up some meetings for you, and I hope it will be successful, and it's great news that you and Ajinomoto continue working closely together. Great. So with that, we have one last but not least speaker I'd like to invite is Nir Platek-san. Nir Platek's also an entrepreneur, founded a few startups, and he's operating in Japan and in Israel. Right, Nir, and thank you for Nir for being here with us. Of course, Nir is part of the Japan-Israel Business Forum, which is one of the partners organizing the event. And Nir is fluent in Nihongo, so if you could take some time to share with us your experience with your team in Israel, and how is that working for you?
Thank you, Daniel. リスト株式会社代表取締役のニール・プラテックと申します。本日はよろしくお願いいたします。簡単な自己紹介ですが、私は日本生まれで、東京とテラビブ育ちのイスラエル人です。今まで日本やイスラエルで数多くの会社の起業や投資を行ってまいりました。現在経営しているリストという会社は、日本とイスラエルに拠点を持つスタートアップ企業です。事業領域としては、AI 技術を活用した EC 事業者向けのB2B の SaaS を提供しております。日本のベンチャーキャピタルなどや大手事業会社からの出資も受けている日本で IPO を目指している会社です。お客様は日本の楽天などの EC マーケットプレイスで販売している大手のインテリアとか、ユートリアメーカーとかカタログ通販、電化製品などの大手企業から中小企業まで幅広いです。スタートアップではありますが、現在急成中でサービス利用中の顧客はすでに日本だけで約1000社います。サービス自体は年365日24時間体制で提供しているものになります。当社の販売拠点は日本で、ただし開発とシステムの運用メンテナンスはすべてイスラエルで行われています。で、本日強調させていただきたい点としては、現在の状況でもサービスは問題なく継続中ということです。そもそも我々のようなクラウドをベースにしたソフトウェア企業は、コロナでリモート、テレワークの仕組みが確立しています。コロナが落ち着いてからハイブリッド型になっていましたが、戦争が開始してからまたリモートに問題なく戻りました。リモートでも毎日チームごとのミーティングやマネージャー同士、あと日本、イスラエルオフィス間のミーティングを行っており、運用上の問題は全くないです。確かにコロナの時とは違って、戦争ならではの問題はいくつか存在します。ガザの近くに住んでいた社員は、家族ごと避難されて、現在ゲストハウスの部屋で暮らしていたり、予備役に収集されたエンジニアや、旦那が予備役に収集された妊娠中の女性エンジニアもいます。学校が休校になり、小さい子供が家にいるなど、いろいろと課題はありますが、会社としては勤務時間の柔軟な対応を実施していて、例えば日中数時間休む必要があれば、夜の時間などにその仕事を続けることを可能にしております。予備役などで休んでいる人の分は他のメンバーでカバーしています。イスラエル人の国民性でもありますが、緊急時の団結力が強く、当社の社員もお互いを仕事面でも精神面でもサポートするスタンスで業務に支障がないように全力で頑張っています。結果としてお客様やパートナーに一切迷惑をかけないようにしています。コインベントのテーマである No matter what の精神でスムーズにサービスを提供しております。また、システムの新たな機能の開発もほぼ遅れなく予定通り進めております。基本的にはイスラエルの主要都市の経済はほぼ通常レベルで動いています。当社も徐々にハイブリッドモードに戻りつつあります。具体的にはまずは週1任意でオフィスの勤務を復活しております。任意ではありますが、ほとんどの社員は出勤を選択しております。おそらく他のソフトウェア系の会社はほぼすべて当社と同じような状況だと思われます。本日はありがとうございました。
Thank you so much, Neil, for sharing your experience and no deliveries and no delays and delivering no matter what. This is what's happening. So also like to mention that I met yesterday with the CEO of Israeli company called Browsy, and he's also in Japan, and they just opened their subsidiary here. So you can see a business continues. Israeli companies certainly continue to come to Japan, and they received a lot of interest in meetings from the Japanese companies. So that's great. And then to wrap up our discussion here, I'd like to invite Yoav Kedar-san. Yoav, chairman of the Japan-Israel Business Forum. He also established before he came here. Yoav, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Also chairman of the IJCC. And so, Yoav, please, the floor is yours.
Okay, so in the short time that we have, I will put my closing remarks for this seminar. So first, I want to join the sincere condolences to Tami Raviv in behalf of our community, the community from Japan, for her loss of her daughter. And of course, for all the others that lost, and also for, I'm working with this now, for all the hostages, that we wish they come back home quick and safely. As a part of the business community in Japan, and we, after the October 7 October, we have a lot of confused, and many people come to us, to our forum, to our platform, and ask us many questions. And I feel that these seminars, and I feel we need to do more seminars, but at least this seminar, and I want to thank for all the panelists that give their experience, their way of thinking, how we can come over this situation or this crisis. So I hope we start to clear this confusion, and I want to thank them. I also want to thank for all the attendants, that the 300 or the people that stay patiently to listen to what happened in Israel and how we solve it. If I want to put my closing remark, I will use the Japanese kotowaza, and I will use the word that the word Masaka no toki no tomo wa shin no tomo. So in the time of problems, you can see who is your friend, and I want to thank for all our friends that continue to supporting us. And of course, the last thanks is to Daniel and all the staff from the embassy for arranging very useful and very effective seminar. So thank you for every night, and Otsukare-sama, and good night for all of you.
Thank you. Thank you, Yoav, so much for your warm words. And I have to say, so much, you've done so much in all the years. I don't want to say how many, that living in Japan, to bring Japan and Israel closer together with business and personal relations, and always willing to initiate and help, not only on business matters, but a true friend. Thank you so much, and really thank everyone who's joined us today. Even though we are running late, 250 people still with us, and we'll send out the recording, and we'll send out more information by email. Please take the time to fill out the survey after, when you close the Zoom that you will open up. Please feel free to reach out to us with any questions, with any comments, any feedback. We are here for you, and yes, let's continue to work no matter what. どうもありがとうございました。